Hey guys, I'm your host, Chelsea Smith, and on this show, we talk about everything and anything. No rules, and we like to keep it raw. We also like to sample beverages. Don't mind if we do.
I'm gonna wanna get crazy. Be anything but behaving like you do. Make you. Oh, don't mind if we do.
Well, welcome back to Don't Mind If We Do. I'm very excited about my guest today. This evening, we have my friend, neighbor, and Paris partner, Paris traveler, Michele Tessier. Did I say that right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. And she is a commander retired in the military. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, whew. Safe. Okay, commander retired. So Michele is pretty much a big deal. She's been in the military for how many years? 25?
Yeah, just
Before
over
you
25
retired?
years. Mm-hmm.
25. So not just a couple. So before we get into that, though, we are sampling some wine today. It's not local at all, but that's okay. It is a product of Chile. This is Connoisseur. Oh, tricky. It's a Cab Sav. 2020. You've said you've had it before. I have also had it before, so it's not really a test. We're not sampling. We're drinking wine. I won't lie. We're just having wine on a Friday night.
Twist my
Cheers,
arm.
right?
Cheers.
And she even brought chocolate. Like, it's a party. And we have my child in the room as well with headphones on, joining because he's not feeling well. So he's sitting in the room with us.
And
But he's watching Netflix.
And we're also joined by the fabulous Madeline.
Did not mean to leave the dog out. She's just sleeping. She was ignoring me, so
That is a very nice wine.
it is good. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so back to you. So you were in the military for 25 years. When did you become my neighbor again?
I moved here almost a year ago.
A year ago. So we just met randomly, not very long ago,
Yeah.
which was very fun.
In
Pleasant-
January, I think.
yes.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised to find out you're my neighbor and a wine drinker and you love Paris or the thought of going to Paris. So Michele booked one of the spots on the dream getaway to Paris with a bunch of women. We're finally going in October 2022. And I'm super excited that you get to come.
And if I can talk about that for just a
Yeah,
second,
please do.
because yes, I was looking for someone to do some sort of professional headshots for me because everything I own is me dressed in a uniform and I don't wear a uniform anymore. And I had been driving on the street and saw your vehicles in your yard and I thought I should check out her website.
Very
So I
good.
did. And then I contacted you and asked, hey, do you do headshots and, sort of professional promotional things? And you do. And then I said, by the way, I'm your neighbor. And so then we thought, well, let's get together and drink some wine. And while we were doing that, you told me about the Paris trip.
I did.
And of course, my curiosity was immediately piqued. And I was humming and hawing about whether I was going to go or not. And then one night, as I was emptying some more of the boxes that I moved back here to Victoria with, I found a bunch of things from a trip I did as a kid where we went to England and France.
Yeah.
I found my actual trip itinerary ticket, which back, I'm not going to say what year it was, but
It's
I
just
was
a
only
few.
about 12 years
Yeah,
old.
it's a few years ago.
And I think the whole trip cost us about $1,200 a student.
Oh, my word.
I know. And we went to France and there were pictures in there from it. And then I thought, okay, this is a sign.
Totally
Michele,
a
you have
sign.
to go back to France.
Yeah, you have to. And you are. and
I
it
am.
was such a perfect sign. I was so excited. Because it's not, it is a fun trip planned. And the women going are all, luckily, all the women going are awesome and I think going to be a really good fit. But sometimes you never know when you're putting a group of strangers together and you're flying across the world. You don't know. But I'm really excited about each person that's joining, and every new person that takes the spot that comes up is the perfect fit. So it's all meant to be.
Right. And
Yeah.
I just think that that's one of the the most awesome things, like that you do things that bring women together like this. I love those kinds of little events and things, because you don't know until you try. You know, you this is a great way to meet other people who come from different backgrounds, and that's always been my motto in life, which is, you know, just give it a try, because you'll never know what's going to come of it. It's how I joined the Navy, was
Right.
I'm just going to give it a try.
Just for the hell of it. Get you to move closer
Oh,
to your
yeah,
mic
sorry.
so I can hear you, even though I can hear you. But we want everyone else to hear you too. So it was on a whim. You joined the Navy or the military because of why not? Give it a try.
Yeah, kind of. I had been always interested in that. I am a kind of type A OCD sort of person, and I had always been sort of intrigued, I think, by that, the discipline and the uniforms and all that kind of stuff. And I even went to the recruiting center as I was graduating high school, and
nice.
they talked to me about, yeah, well, maybe you should do some more sciences and maths, maybe do some physics and
To get into it?
yeah, because I was sort of, I was going under the premise of going in as an officer, and which would have probably been through something like the Royal Military College at that time. And when they said physics, I went, that's not going to happen.
Terrible.
So I went to Memorial University, because I'm from Newfoundland.
Couldn't tell. Hopefully it comes out more with the wine.
A couple more glasses of
Yeah.
wine, you'll hear it more. Yeah. And I went on to university and thought I was going to do a business degree. And then I met calculus and decided that business was not going to be for me. And, you know, a number of different changes through my time in university. And I ended up graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in English,
No math.
with a concentration in theater and drama,
Nice.
and a minor in folklore.
Okay.
And then I realized I am qualified to do nothing in the real world.
But you can sing and dance.
But what happens next? And around that time, I met some people in the military. And, you know, I just thought it was fantastic. And I talked to them a little bit. And one of the guys said, well, if you're that interested, why don't you join? And I thought, well, you know, if I do it and I don't like it, then I'm stuck. And I don't really want to take that risk. And
Is it
said,
a contract that you have to
well,
stay?
and in the regular force in particular, it's a little more of an obligation when you're first joining, depending on what kind of an entry program you're going in under. And I I thought, yeah, I don't want to get in and then not be able to get out if I feel trapped.
I hate it.
And he said, well, why don't you join the reserves? And I said, what is this thing, the reserves?
Yeah.
And he told me about it, how, you know, there are, in particular in the Navy, there are naval reserve units right across Canada. These people are, you know, they either have full-time jobs and careers or they're full-time students. They typically parade at a unit a couple nights a week, one weekend a month. They go away when they're available to do training, and they learn how to do all the things that everybody else in the Navy does. So you are a member of the Royal Canadian Navy. And I thought, well, why don't I just give it a try, see what it's like? And little did I think that giving it a try was going to lead to a full-time career.
Running ships, literally.
Travel around the world, and in command of a ship,
Yeah.
which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't join to do that, but that's where I
And
ended
that's
up.
where you ended up. By just taking a chance.
Just taking a chance.
Because why not?
Exactly.
Because you won't know until you try. And you tried, and then you were commanding a ship, a big ship, not just a little boat.
It was a medium-ish size ship. The first one that I had is a coastal defense vessel. It's a crew of about 45 people. It's about 55 meters long.
Yeah.
1,000 tons.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
But they did give me command then of a second one, which is an Arctic ship, which is quite a bit bigger and quite a bit heavier. And not to, do the spoiler alert now, but I ended up being medically released from the military before I actually got an opportunity to take that ship to sea.
Oh, you never got to do it.
No. I ended up sailing with the Coast Guard to do some training, because the purpose of these ships, amongst other things, is also to operate in the Arctic in icy waters.
Yeah.
And so learning how to operate in ice and break ice was part of my training.
Don't
So
wanna
I
be the
did.
Titanic.
Yeah. And I did several trips with the Coast Guard, where I went up and they let me take the ship and
Okay.
drive it into ice. And
Oh,
yeah,
like just right in, head in,
oh,
smash it.
yes.
Fun.
Yeah, one of the most amazing things I've ever done, and also one of the most unsettling things I've ever done, because I remember looking at the captain of that ship and saying, I've spent 20 odd years in the Navy learning how not to hit things, and now you want me to hit things on purpose.
Right into it. Yikes. And the point of that is to, like, if you had to get through.
Yeah.
Coast
So
Guard?
the Arctic, even in the summertime when the navigable channels, the routes open, there's still a lot of ice there, and it can be dangerous. And so ships that are not built for that kind of environment can get in a lot of trouble really quickly. So we have built a class of ship that is capable in certain types of ice, and I won't go into the boring gnaws of what the
ice.
polar ice code is and all those kinds of things, but the ship is built to be able to drive through ice. So yeah, and that is, wow, amazing.
That would be fun. Thrilling. And scary, probably. So 25 years ago, basically, because you just recently retired. Now I would say there's probably more women joining or more women in the military, but 25 years ago, was there many?
It was not bad. And in the reserves, there tend to be more women than in the regular force. I guess just because it's easier, because it's kind of a part-time thing. But when, in my particular trade or occupation, there weren't a lot of women. And certainly in terms of women who end up being commanding officers of ships.
Yeah.
Well, I was the third one ever in Canada. So
Amazing.
yeah, and the first one, I guess, on the Pacific coast. The first two
Celebrity here.
they were both on the East Coast. So that was pretty amazing. And
That is amazing.
what's great though is that we're into the double digits now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a cliche or a novelty. It is, women are taking command of ships as
Nice.
almost as frequently as men, and we don't bat an eye at it, which is awesome.
Good. That was because of you, basically.
Oh no, not because of
Cheers.
me.
Oh, yeah, because of you.
But cheers to everyone that went before me and who came after me.
There wasn't a lot before you. Third in Canada.
Yes, but
So-
two phenomenal women that did come
Two
before
amazing women. Cheers to them, and cheers to you
Yes.
for being third and kicking butt, doing it. We have to watch our language this one because there's little ears in the room. For
Yes.
This one. Oh, I don't think he can hear anything, but just in case. Okay, well that is very cool. But what are you doing now? So what were you getting headshots for? You are venturing into something else. Is it a secret?
No, it's not a
Okay.
secret. I mean, I'm still kind of figuring that out.
Okay.
The as I said, medical release from the military. So the medical aspect of this for me is, has been somewhat limiting, in particular in a lot of the things that I love to do on my free time.
Right.
And I'm still learning how to navigate my way around around life, working with the injuries that I have. But I do a few different things. Right now, I work casually, still for the military, as a mentor for officers that are learning how to do the jobs that I did. So I work at our navigation and bridge simulator, and I'm a student at Royal Roads now, doing some programs on leadership, values-based leadership specifically, because that is something that I have always held very near and dear to my heart. And I have done a lot of speaking on that kind of stuff. For the Navy and so to educational groups and interest groups and you name it. But the values-based leadership piece of that for me has always been really important and one of the messages I always like to communicate. So I'm doing a bit of studying on that. I am, now that, knock on wood, COVID is going away, that I am...
Knock on wood.
Yes, lots of wood.
Because we need to get to Paris, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to be doing more of that on a more professional level of being able
Speaking
to
or coaching,
speaking and
leadership?
coaching
Yeah.
really, because I've done a little bit of both, and I don't know. What else am I doing?
Are
I
you
do.
writing?
I am writing a little bit myself, yes, because I've had many people tell me, you need to write a book, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
And so every once in a while I'll sit down and start writing down things that, I think that I want to put into a book. And really it's going to come down to how do I sort all that out and make it what it should be to actually become a book, I guess.
It all starts on this podcast, basically.
It all starts right
It
here.
all starts here. yeah.
Exactly.
And I can critically acclaim you. Back when Robin was on here, we critically acclaimed all our authors.
Oh,
so
yes,
when your
exactly.
book is done, I will critically acclaim it.
We can just
for
call
you.
me future critically acclaimed
Fully.
author. How
You're
does that
already
sound?
critically acclaimed in my books.
Yes. And speaking of Robin, I hope
Yeah.
that she hears this because I did say that when we did this, I wanted to have
shoot,
a picture of
yes.
her face blown up here so
did.
that it felt like she was also here and that we
Right.
had sort of a responsible adult in the room because just you and me and a bottle of wine could be dangerous.
Now
So,
we have the responsible 7-year-old in the room.
We do.
Which makes us responsible.
Yes.
So in the end, it will be the same.
there we go. Robin, you've lost your job to Big D.
Big D has taken over. And he's given me the eyes to stop talking about him. But yes, I remembered you wanted to blow up a picture. We'll have to do that on part 2, I guess.
That's after I've become critically acclaimed.
Right.
Yes.
On the critically acclaimed episode, we'll blow up a picture of Robin as well. Or maybe she can be a guest.
there.
Guest and
Perfect.
joy.
Yes.
I can't critically acclaim by myself. That's no fun.
I will say, though, I am not a doctor.
You're not?
No.
I am.
I just play one on TV.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Days of our lives. While we're young and the restless. Playing a doctor is probably almost as hard as being one, I think.
Well, you have to sell it, right? You have to be
You
realistic.
have to memorize everything.
Well,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all those big words.
Big words.
Huge words.
Yeah. So there's so many amazing things about you that you've done and all of that. But one thing I really want everyone to hear about is how you potty trained your cat.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
Because you did, and it's quite amazing.
I did, yes.
did.
This is the third cat that I've ever had. Her name is Lily.
Okay.
And the first 2 cats I had were not potty trained, but they did do things like sit for their food and their treats. But this
Like a
one,
dog?
yeah, this one is a little bit different. She's quite intelligent. We got her as a kitten, and yeah, we started teaching her a couple little things. We taught her the sit. We taught her to fetch, so she fetches balls. But we
brings
were
them back?
yes, but we were talking about how litter boxes are just such a pain.
So gross, and they stink.
They
Ugh.
smell, and and cats have a tendency to like flick litter all over the place, and they're messy. And enclosed litter boxes, I read, are actually not good for cats. It can give them some breathing problems and so on because they kick up the dust and then they breathe it
Right.
all in.
Aw, you looked into that. That's
Yeah, and my other half also has some asthma, so a lot of dust is not good for him. So we had heard about these things, so we thought, well, let's give it a try and see, if we can. Once again, let's just give it a try and
'Cause
see
why
what
not?
happens.
You never know
'Cause
until
why
you
not?
try.
And yeah, so there's a couple of these products on the market. One of them is called the City Kitty, and
fancy.
the one that we have is called the Litter Quitter.
Litter quitter.
And it's basically a thing that you put over the toilet seat. It's like a litter box.
Okay.
It has a bunch of different inserts in it. So you fill it with litter, and the cat uses it the same as the litter box. And then after they're used to climbing up on the toilet and using it, you take out the middle insert, and there's a little hole. And so there's still litter. And so the
going
cat
into
will
the
go,
toilet.
and so some of it goes in the toilet and some of it goes into sort of the litter box part, and you just, you reward them for going there, and you flush it, and and then you move down to one more and one more until there is no litter left. Basically, it's just a bigger thing around the toilet seat. And she goes number 1 and number 2 in the toilet. And it's funny because she will yell out to us to let us know that she's done it because she knows
funny.
I've gone and now I want my treat.
Oh my word.
Yes.
So is there the end game is nothing on the toilet seat, just the toilet seat, or do you always have to keep a thing on?
That's the end game, yeah. I don't know that we're quite there yet.
Yeah.
Like
Don't
she's still
push
used to
it.
having something bigger to sit on,
Totally,
to
yeah.
balance on.
What
But
if she falls in?
I don't think that she will, but she did actually. Oh, I can't believe we're talking about my cat right now. She did actually, as a kitten, just a couple of months old. I was in the washroom brushing my teeth or something, and she came running into the bathroom at full tilt, and I guess was thinking that the toilet seat lid was down and went straight into the toilet
Right
bowl.
into the toilet.
Oh my gosh, it was, yeah.
Did she get out really fast?
She did. She popped right back out of it, and she was soaking wet and coughing and everything. And she learned her lesson that day to always check and see if the toilet seat is down.
Well, that's very smart. Yeah, I saw a video. So I'm verifying that this is true because I've seen the video of Lily doing her business on the toilet.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's quite impressive, gotta say. If you need anyone needs cat training, Michele could also be good at that.
Yeah.
Could be
There you
another
go.
thing.
You've just found my next
Like,
career.
That's a whole job I would pay to have someone train my cat. So it's one reason I don't have a cat is because I don't like litter.
Yes.
Gross. So that's fun. I know you weren't expecting that question.
I
but
was not expecting that
I
question
said
tonight.
we were going to wing it. Because that's what I like to do.
It's like an episode of Seinfeld. This is the
Right?
podcast about nothing tonight.
It's about nothing. It's never about anything. It's always about nothing. And it's about everything all
yes.
at once. So, yes. Good. We're going to take a short break for a second because I'm super excited about a new sponsor that this podcast has. And so we're going to take a break to hear more from her. This episode of Don't Mind If We Do is brought to you by Breakwater Law. They're approachable, practical, and modern. The team at Breakwater Law is not your typical stuffy group of lawyers. You will like them. You might even love them, like I do. Not to be creepy, but they're some of my favorite people. They're friendly, extraordinary people, and while fluent in legalese, they won't speak at you, only to you, and they'll help you feel at ease with all your legal matters. Whether you need a contract written up or a will put together, maybe you're thinking about divorce or you need some help with family, child matters that require a professional to get involved. The lawyers at Breakwater Law are professional and confidential, and their team are there to support you all the way through. Contact Breakwater Law at www.breakwaterlaw.ca and find them down on Fort Street in Victoria, BC. Because let's face it, sometimes there are matters that we can't solve on our own, and we need a kick-ass lawyer to back us up. That's Breakwater Law. And we're back. That was fun. I highly recommend Breakwater Law. They did my divorce and they're awesome there. And I've done all their headshots and they're just a wonderful group of people. So love them. Highly recommend them. Breakwaterlaw.ca. Go check them out for sure. And now we're back to Michele. So you had mentioned you were speaking. You've been in some speaking events and been asked to speak. What do you like to speak on?
Well, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that values-based leadership piece, that how I approach things like leadership and so on, because I often get asked those questions like, what was it like to be a woman in command of a ship, or what's it like to be a woman in the Navy? I think males and females, but people in general, everyone has their own approach to how they do things. Everyone comes at different leadership roles from a little bit of a different perspective. And one of my things was always, I always said, never ask your people to do something you aren't willing to do yourself.
Right.
I believe in leading from the front, and I believe in talking to people and being honest and transparent and a little bit vulnerable with people, because when you do that, they respond to you, I think, a lot better. When someone that works for you is going through a tough time and you take the time to stop and talk to them and and kind of relate to them and what they're going through, they realize that, oh, even the captain is a human being who
Yeah.
has experienced many of the same things that I have, and this is not insurmountable, and I have somebody on my side as I'm going through it. So that's what I have often talked about is how I bring my values to that, and how my style of leadership is probably different from other people. And it was hard sometimes because people would often ask me if I would come and talk to groups and schools and whatever, and I remember the first time someone said to me, you're a role model. And I thought, no,
What?
I'm not. I'm just a girl from Newfoundland who goes to Tim Hortons in her sweats in the morning. I am no role model. Like, do not put me in that box. It was hard. Like I had a hard time accepting that because I just looked at myself as I'm another officer in the Navy. I do the same job that everybody else does, and earning command, like achieving that qualification and being appointed to a command position, is a difficult journey, and it's a difficult journey for everyone who does it, males and females. So I never wanted it to take away from my male counterparts, but I started to realize that there are so many places in this world where women still don't even have basic rights. They're forced into marriages as children. They aren't allowed to drive. It's criminal when you think of the privilege that we have of living in Canada and what we can do here, and how difficult it is for women in other parts of the world. And I kind of thought to myself, if a young person or another woman, or I don't know, I mean, males, females, whatever, if someone looks at me and says, wow, there's a person who went into a rather non-traditional job for her gender, and succeeded in it. And so if she can do it, then, maybe I can do something. And if that makes someone think that way, or I guess kind of inspires somebody to go
Totally
after
inspiring.
something that they thought maybe they couldn't do, then I guess I need to embrace that. So hence I am the quote unquote reluctant role model, as I call myself.
You're a critically acclaimed role model now. So. You're definitely a role model. It's a huge accomplishment, not just because you're a woman, but because you're a woman too. And like, that's an amazing, like you said, you were the third woman to command a ship. How many men had done it by that time?
Oh, well, I mean,
Like,
hundreds and
not-
hundreds,
yeah.
it's the
So-
Navy was 100 years old
Right.
when I took command of my ship.
So that's pretty friggin' huge.
Yeah.
As a woman, it doesn't say the third person to command a ship. It was the third woman to command a ship.
Yes.
Because they don't command the ships as much as men do. So
Right.
it's a huge accomplishment.
Yes, I guess. But to go back to kind of that inspiring piece, I mean, there are women all over the place that inspire women, and
Oh, definitely.
I mean, and I even I think of you and how you inspire women to be their authentic selves and to learn to love themselves. You take such beautiful photographs of women, and I know we've talked about this before, that people always they're first to criticize themselves.
They
That
are,
we will
yes.
praise everyone else. We will tell everyone else how great they look, and then we'll just rip ourselves to shreds about every single little flaw that we see. And you bring these women in here, and you take, like I said, such beautiful photographs of them. You show them how beautiful they really are, and they walk away from this experience feeling stronger and more confident, and knowing that they are beautiful people who are capable of great things. So you inspire women too. And I love, like I said before, I love just being involved with other women that
Yeah.
do things like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the Rachel Hollis podcast? Now I'm like mentioning her on every episode almost. but
I don't
she's
know if
very
I
inspiring.
have. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I have or not.
She's great. And
It's-
she's got lots of different. Hers is also about random topics, all sorts of different things, but she always, her goal is to teach something from each episode, whether it's the one that I listened to on the way home today she was sampling Dwayne Johnson's new energy drinks. So I don't she wasn't teaching anything on that, but she was telling which ones were good. And I'm like, hey, we sample drinks too on this podcast.
Exactly.
So maybe one day Rachel Hollis will be on this podcast
There we
as
go.
a guest. But she's very inspiring to so many people too. And it's fun to find all the different women that do things that inspire you. I love it.
Yes, and well, I mean, I've only recently sort of gotten into listening to podcasts, and of course, I binged
this
I
was your
binged
first
this
one.
one. I started listening to everything on this one, and now I'm like, well, that's all done. I guess I gotta go. I guess I need to be on it so I can put some new content.
Exactly. Did you think you were going to get quizzed? Is that why you listened to them? Do you think I was going to quiz you
That
on
was
past
it.
ones?
I wanted to see
Okay,
what you were
Michelle,
going to ask me.
Episode 3.
Oh God, you
Who
can't.
was in it?
Oh my God. There was you,
Yes,
and there was
there.
Robin.
Robin was there.
and then you had a guest.
I did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you don't remember. It's funny enough, that episode was our highest downloaded one, too. It was called Date Night with my friend Alana.
Ah,
She has
yes.
the picnic.
Right.
The local picnic is its new name. So now you have to go back and listen to that one.
Now I do.
She's also an inspiring woman. So I find you inspiring because I have worked in a male-dominated. Just lost my train.
A male
of
dominated.
men.
Oh,
Thinking
some
of
more
men.
wine,
No,
please.
Man and wine. Got two favorites. A male-dominated field. So I worked in the oil patch for years up north, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was very fun, but it is very. Yeah, it's different when you are a for sure minority in a group of people.
Yeah.
So it's, and you, like, I wasn't commanding the rigs or anything. I was just the medic. So that's like the most common female position in the oil patch. But you were right up top in the military, and that's just awesome. It's very inspiring.
Well, thank you. I mean,
I'm impressed.
I worked my way
Of
up
course you
through
worked
there,
your-
and you know,
Of course you did.
and there
Very
were
hard, I'm sure.
there were many times that you know, I would be on a course or I would be at sea in a ship, and you know, sitting in the wardroom, which is the officers' mess on the ship, and you know, that moment when you kind of look around the room and then realize, oh, I'm the only female here. And it hadn't really dawned on me before because I've always, you know, thought of it in the sense of we're all just, you know, officers here doing the same job kind of thing. And in fact, I laugh about this one because I remember one time when it dawned on me that I was the only female there in the officers' mess. And it was because back then, this particular ship I was in, I was the bar manager.
Oh.
And so I had to, you know, take the orders and restock the bar, and not just for, you know, things like beer and other alcoholic drinks, but for, you know, pop and stuff as well, because when we're at sea, we're not
Right.
drinking alcohol, but a lot of people drink soft drinks and things at sea. And I remember that everyone wanted Diet Coke, and we kept running out of Diet Coke, and I personally didn't drink soft drinks, so I remember I was going out, I was like, there was so much Diet Coke, and then I looked around the space, and I thought, these are all men.
And they're all drinking the
And they're all drinking the Diet Coke. That's, you know, we're keeping Diet Coke in business here. All these men. I would have thought this would be a room full of women, but it's
Yeah.
not. There you go.
There you go. There you go with the Diet Coke.
And that's not to say that there weren't instances where, you know, you have uncomfortable situations, because not everyone is necessarily as open and accepting, and some people exhibit some of, you know, as we call them, microaggressions, or even subconsciously, just because they've been used to being in an environment, you know, an environment at sea where it was previously all men and now there are women there.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a fairly strong-willed person, and so I don't let those things get to me. I just kind of throw water
Yeah.
off of a duck's back.
Yeah,
But then
me
you
too.
reflect on things and you kind of think, oh, I guess that was kind of offsides when that
Yeah.
person said that, or, you know,
Not appropriate.
yeah, you know, and it's funny because, again, like I said, I try not to take it personally, but I've learned that there are times where you have to speak up about these things. So, you know, as the only female, maybe commanding officer in a group of people, and getting an email that has been addressed to all of us, and the email starts off, "Gents,"
Right.
and I remember when one of those emails came, I went to my boss and I said, "So I guess this one doesn't apply to me, correct?"
Yeah, that one's not about you.
Yeah, that's. I guess I don't have to pay attention to this
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's.
And did they fix it?
I mean, I've been apologized to before for those kinds of things, but
Yeah.
again, it's just, it doesn't have to be brought up in a, you know, oh, how dare you insult me?
I'm going to sue you.
But
Yeah,
to
it's
just say, you know, you're addressing an email and you start it with gents, and there's a woman in the room, and maybe
Good.
a different introduction would be better. And people tend to be pretty receptive to those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause often it's an honest mistake, just not thinking about it.
Exactly. I met this wonderful woman who is a retired chief petty officer from the Navy, and she is also a First Nations woman. She is an Anishinaabe from Northern Ontario. I keep thinking, is it Northern Ontario or Manitoba? It's Northern Ontario. She is actually the an honorary captain for Her Majesty's Canadian ship, HMCS Margaret Brooke, which was the Arctic ship that I was the commanding officer of. And she always says, I believe in teachable moments. There's no point in getting upset and angry and just using something as a means to build a wall between us or create. It's better to take that opportunity and approach it as a teachable moment where you can explain to someone and help them understand something. And she did that for me a couple of times. I used a term that was incorrect, and she explained to me what the correct terminology or how we refer to that particular thing was. And I was just so thankful that she would take the time to do that and do it for me there. So, rather than avoid the topic or create a hostile environment, she used it as an opportunity to help us both.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what did you say? Where is she from?
I was talking about when I lived in Thunder Bay,
Yeah.
because I lived there for 2 years as the commanding officer of the Naval Reserve Unit there. And there is a school in Thunder Bay where a lot of the young people who come from different First Nations communities in Northern Ontario, they come into Thunder Bay to go to school there after a certain grade. And I think something like grade 6 or something, I believe. And I made the comment of coming from the reservations. And then she said, I believe in teachable moments. And she said, we don't use the word reservation. A reserve is somewhere where we keep animals. And so when you're referring to a Canadian First Nations community, it's a community. And I was just so thankful that she
Said
did
it
that for me,
nicely,
because
yeah.
I was like, wow, now I know what the right word is to use. Yeah.
It's a First Nations community. Nice. And now you just taught me. So there you go.
There we go.
I think that's a perfect way to close off. Now we learned something. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday night to spend it over here drinking wine with me.
I can't think of a better way to spend a Friday night.
Right? Yeah. One thing better. The kiddo could have been sleeping. Then we could have had more wine. But hey, we'll have to have a part 2 or just another night that's not a podcast. Whatever.
Once
We'll
uncritically
see.
acclaimed.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So for that episode, we'll make sure there's no kids, and we'll cheers to a big bottle of wine and champagne. And in Paris, you will be on the podcast in Paris, because I will be taking it. and doing an episode out there.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
I might even parler un petit peu de français.
I think you should, because I don't speak any French. So we might have someone coming with that does speak French, and she
Excellent.
might be coming as a translator. So if she's listening to this, that's your nudge. I haven't heard back from her if it was a yes or no yet, because it's spring break. So we'll hear about that. That would be amazing, because I speak nothing, no French, like less than nothing. It's pathetic.
I speak a little, but we could definitely use the help.
Definitely. And it was her idea. So I'm like, well, you suggested it. I feel like you have to come, because you offered. Apparently, the French people deal better with French people. So that's what she said. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. Michele Tessier. My goodness.
Have some more wine,
We're
Chelsea.
good friends. We're such good friends. I can't say your last name, because I don't need to ever. It's just Michele. It's just wine. My wine buddy.
Exactly.
My neighbor. Tessier. That sounds French.
I know.
Is
In
it?
in Newfoundland, we just say Tessier, but I
Okay.
joined the military and they said Tessier, and that was it. That was my name
And
from
that was
then on.
it.
That was
so
it.
it's actually Tessier.
In Newfoundland, yes, that's how they pronounce it, is Tessier. And I believe in like Saskatchewan there are Tessiers as well, but most people pronounce it Tessier. So I just, I wasn't going to argue with somebody in my basic training course. So
Tessier sounds fancy too. It's just like my maiden name is Toes, like toes on your feet, but it's also pronounced Taves to certain people. And we were never the Taves.
Like-
we were always the Toes.
like the hockey player.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Jonathan.
Yes.
It's my ex-husband. He made too much money. I had to get rid of him. There's no good. Okay. I always have such a hard time ending. Okay. We'll shut this down and we'll cheers again and we'll finish this bottle of wine.
All right. Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
And thanks, everyone, for listening. If you liked this episode, feel free to share it with a friend, tag me in it, comment on our Facebook posts about it. Let us know if you're in the Navy or the military, if you're a woman, your experiences. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback is everything. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to Don't Mind If We Do. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.